I wonder if they can actually pick up a little bit of Love Train there.
Probably not. It's really quiet.
Good.
I heard a bit of it.
Everybody, welcome to
Connect, dude.
Oh, shit. You're right. It's okay. There we go. Hopefully that worked. I don't know. Anyway, we are gonna see if we actually made it live on Aftermath for the first time in weeks. That would be neat. And welcome to Slow News Day Live. I'm Steve-Poikonen. I'm hanging out here in Central California, and I'm joined today by my better than your co-host Glory Jones. What's happening, Jones? How you doing?
It's happening. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I have to put this in. I didn't even have that done yet. It's been a hell of a morning.
Oh, you hear me?
I could hear you.
Oh.
Go back over here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's transmitting.
Oh, you can hear me?
I can. Oh, can we not hear me on Aftermath again? That would be great, huh?
Nope.
Okay. Well,
it says it's got mic and sound.
I have no idea what's up with that then, but well,
we do it live.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Me either. I'm gonna go ahead and
I'll fuck with it a minute.
Okay. Well, Sleepy Josh will mess with the Aftermathy bits. We're gonna burn through the business real quick so I can bring in our guest today. I'm looking very forward to talking to these folks. Friends of ours from the Union of the Unwanted, the lads from Grimerica, are going to be joining us here briefly. The show, the QR code up there in the corner, that's Matrix Bars. They're one of the sponsors. 3.5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms per delicious chocolate bar. You can go ahead and get a hold of them on Twitter or Instagram at Matrix Genetics, MatrixGenetics. I will have the QR code thingy fixed so you can scan it directly from the screen. You always hit me up. I will send it to you as well. Let's see. All of the regular donate links are up. We do have a bit of a emergency GoFundMe up right now. Friday late night, my truck spontaneously combusted. Little weird.
Nope. No radio.
Little weird.
I don't know what's wrong with their shit, dude.
Me either. 1982 app.
Stop playing on there. It's useless.
Right. So this is kind of what happened. I was asleep. Josh was getting out of the shower. He heard a horn going off, ran outside, and there was fire shooting out of my truck. This is basically what the inside of it looked like. That's yummy. At any rate, I had been more or less like half-ass living out of it with a ton of clothes and my only other pair of shoes left. There's shit like that. Anyway, it's melted. If you are at all in a position to kick in, please do. If not, please do share that around. It kind of sucks. Drop the link for it there. Gonna drop it over in the Rockfin as well, and then we'll bring in the folks. So from the, let's see, I guess beleaguered, almost encircled, borderline fully fascistic state of Canada. Darren from Grimerica is here. Graham should be with us along here in a few. And there he is, right up.
Oh, sorry.
All right. How's it going, fellas? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm good. Yeah, it's good. It's a little cold, but it's good.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I don't even know if it's cold. I'm still kind of in fucking half-ass sponge shock from, truck catching on fire. That was weird. So I am like fairly horrified every day that I wake up and see more news coming out of Canada. And I know that you guys have been, or at least Darren, have been doing plenty of traveling throughout all of this. I definitely want to get into to all of that. But first of all, I don't even know if how familiar my audience is with you guys. I would love for you guys to talk about the show and what you're doing over there, because I've been listening for years. I think I first heard an episode with you guys like a higher side chats a long time ago. And then through Sammy Tripoli. Have enjoyed your work over the years, so take it away.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, we've been podcasting for, I guess, almost 9 years now. It'll be 9 years come May 23rd will be 9-year anniversary. Over at Grimerica.ca. So we got, I think, we must be almost at episode 530 by now on that show. It comes out every weekend, and then we started another show at the start of this year to do some more of the conspiratorial and COVID and political stuff that, you know, some people love and some people hate. So we just started a new show so that we would hopefully not, you know, chase anybody off. So we've been doing that for a year, and that's been going well. That's GrimericaOutlaw.ca. I mean, well enough that Graham's been able to take the leap of faith into podcasting and narrating full time this year, and it seems to be going well so far. He still has a house, still has a car, he's still keeping up his weight, he's eating all right. So I mean, it always helps if more people sign up. If they check out and sign up for Plus, it's definitely great. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've been up to. We started the little podcast, and it grew into another podcast, and then a publishing company and a tour company, and now we're doing the events, and both started writing some books and stuff like that. And that's sort of been my side of things, and then I'll let Graham sort of explain his side.
Yeah, I mean, it started like with just talking about interesting topics, right? Guests, like our tagline was like guests who we deem to be interesting, often on the fringe. And then people just crave this conversation, like a honest conversation about stuff, and they wanted to share their experiences. So we got listeners involved right away with sightings and synchronicities and, you know, crazy experiences that it seemed like people were kind of craving to talk about, because we live in this schizophrenic society where, you know, we're in this materialistic paradigm, yet most people know there's more to this life than materialism. So, and that kind of just opened things up, and we had lots of different guests on. We talk about all kinds of crazy stuff, psychedelics and healing and spirituality and UFOs and conspiracies and ancient mysteries and alternative history, whatever the case may be. And then now there's still lots of stuff to talk about. I mean, now we're living through this long car crash of a conspiracy, and how do we handle that on the show? Those were the big questions we had last year. Like, how do we approach this? What's happening right now? So.
Well, and that's kind of an interesting, I don't know, little route to go with this, because I've noticed that there have been like a couple of major, you know, long-term entertaining as hell conspiracy theories that have sort of like revitalized. Tataria is like huge again for a lot of people. Black goo is always popular, you know, but like it's that you get some resurgences of those. But it seems like a lot of the people in the truth community, largely in the conspiracy community and stuff like that, have almost all just focused in on all of the corona stuff and on, well, I don't know, obvious rampant totalitarianism trying to shove its like massive steel dong down your throat. That is a reason to sort of pull back a little bit from some of the more fanciful or whimsical things. But I mean, like, people ask us this a lot. What do you guys do to disengage from all of the heavy shit that you're having to talk about basically every time you get on camera now?
That's the big question. I mean, that's the question we keep asking too. We ask a lot of our guests, like, how do we approach this with a non-attached appreciation, like the Buddhists would say, kind of, right? Like knowing that there's this darkness out there, or that there's this people that want you to do these things that you don't maybe believe in or you don't want to do, and it can be pretty dark and black-pilled. So I think it's a constant effort of trying to just be aware of that and not attaching yourself to it, and not engaging too much of the doom scrolling, and being maybe manifesting some positive parallel civilization, or who knows what that even looks like, but at least acknowledging that we have some power to manifest our reality, and trying to stay in that frame of mind most of the time, where Darren does a job of, he just goes out and does it, right? He just does shit. He disengages by, utilizing his abilities to travel and do all this other stuff. I'm more of manifesting from home in a metaphysical way. Now that this is my job, barely it's my job, but it's enough to at least, make a small living from home. So
Are you planning to disengage in the metaverse then?
no. No, but I might have to play around in there a little bit. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm so sort of fed up with regular society right now that I don't even want to go out and participate in a lot of these things. So I'm kind of being brainwashed as well, because I'm feeling comfortable just sitting at home, reading books and researching for the show and doing the show. So, and I was just thinking about that today. So it's kind of worked opposite for me, because I don't want to go out and do a lot of that. I quit my job because it wasn't fulfilling, and I wanted to do this for full time. Darren sees a different day-to-day thing, and he's handling it completely differently. He's out and about every day, working his day job and doing other things, and it's kind of interesting what we have going on.
No, I think you kind of have to have that, especially if you're going to have a team dynamic on your show. I know that Glory and I have entirely different lives, and that's fucking awesome, because if we were just, if all we did was the same shit all the time, it would be flat as hell. Darren, I'm interested in the last couple of times you've done like border crossings, because I've seen like all the stuff that Dan Dix has gone through and everything that he's been putting out. But you have a totally different situation going on, and that you've got a native pass, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I just don't have to disengage, because I don't really engage outside of the show parameters. But the native card seems to help. It definitely helped in the beginning, but it doesn't really help me get back into Canada. It helps in the States a lot. And then it's the last few times I went in, nobody's asking anything. Once the U.S. border, so in the beginning, it wasn't even that, it wasn't even my status card I was using. I was just started an essential service company and a website for one, and made some business cards and traveled like that. I just said I was an energy consultant. And lately, now I just show them my status card because it's easier, but it looks like the border is going to close to non-essential travel here again pretty quick, and I'll probably just pull that out again. Pull out my essential company, my energy consult company, and start traveling like that again. So I guess I've been more like just circumventing than anything else. Just wherever I can fake it or anything else is kind of the route I've been going, but I'm not scared to take it head on when I need to. I've had more than one altercation with people with the border guards who are, in their defense, usually pretty amenable and feel like they're just caught in the middle of it and don't really want anything to do with it. They're just like, look, man, we just pass on the information and do what we're told. And this last time I went down, I had a bump in with the RCMP who came to my house and stuff like that, and called me because I wasn't in quarantine. So AHS had called them and said that I'm supposed to be quarantining because I went to Montana and I didn't have my vaccinations. So I went down with my girlfriend. She doesn't have to quarantine because she's got her shots, and I do because I don't, which I just, I don't agree with. I'm not going to do. And I've been supposed to quarantine a few times now, and I did quarantine the time I did get COVID. No one's ever showed up at my house or called me, but this time they did. And the RCMP called me and asked if I was home, and I said that I wasn't. And he asked if I knew I was supposed to be in quarantine, and I said that I did, and that I didn't agree with it. And me and him sort of went back and forth. I sort of gave him my reasons for not agreeing with the quarantine and not agreeing with him being at my house in general or fucking phoning me. And I kind of just said, look, if we're going to have this conversation, it's going to be in a courtroom. So do whatever you got to do on your end, and I'll talk to my lawyer and we can go have this conversation in a courtroom. And he said he would call me back and if he needed to, and he just never did. And I never got charged with anything. I never got fined with anything. When I flew in from Vegas back in April, they tried to tell me I had to go to a quarantine facility. I just kind of said, no, fuck you, I'm going home. I kind of walked by all the people and it was I'd say it was about 50-50. It was about half the people that were on the plane were going to the quarantine hotel and the other half were like not having any of it. And, they told me at customs there that I might get fined $3,500 or $4,500. And I was like, whatever. And that never happened either. I just never heard back from it again. When I came in with Graham back in September when we had COVID, Graham was COVID positive. So they were upset about that we were coming into the country with a COVID case. And of course, everybody in the truck ended up getting COVID eventually. But that time again, they phoned us and asked us if we, were basically telling us to drive to this quarantine facility in Calgary, which we declined. And they talked about all these fines or tickets we were going to get for that. And it just continues not to happen, at least in my province.
I mean, you did use your card with the cops when they were on the phone too. I mean, you did kind of say, hey, you don't want to be messing with that right now either.
Yeah, but that's a non-issue because to this date, there's yet to be a single person charged in Alberta with a quarantine violation. And I can't remember how long the quarantine's been on here for flying out of the country, but it's basically been on for, 18 months now.
Do you know what the penalties for a quarantine violation are?
It's from a $3,500 to $750,000 fine, or like 6 months in jail or 3 months in jail or something
What the
like that.
fuck?
But it'll never hold up in court. And I'm not just
Yeah.
doing this because I'm taking a chance. In my estimation, I'm not taking any chance. There's a less than 1% chance that I'm even going to end up in court for these things. And if I do, there's a less than 1% chance that it's going to go through on prosecution. Because it's not like I'm just running around with COVID. I mean, they might get you if you knew you had COVID and you were running around with it, fucking spreading it. I could see that maybe. But I mean, I'm testing. I know I don't have COVID. I've had COVID. I have a positive test results from earlier in the year. All the science shows you can't get COVID again once you've had it once. So, at a minimum, you're not getting it for a fucking year. But the science is starting to come out that you're not getting it again. And the people that think they're getting it again are it's because of this PCR test. So, I mean,
No,
I'm worried about it. And up until now, as I said, like the last time I looked into it was about a month and a half ago. And at that time, it was Calgary was the only international airport and Alberta was the only province that had yet to charge someone with a quarantine violation.
Well, and this is something that Dr. Peter McCullough pointed out on Rogan's show before we all got to hang out with him for a little bit that night on Union of the Unwanted. Because Rogan was like, well, my friend had COVID twice. And he's talking about Tim Dillon. And Dr. McCullough was like, no, your friend thinks he had COVID twice. Your friend was told he had COVID twice, but in all likelihood, one of those times he had, any number of things that would have thrown up a positive PCR test. And this is another reason why the tests have been recalled. People don't even realize that the recall went out back in like September and that there's an expiration date on every PCR test. And it's supposed to be December 31st. But what the fuck does that mean for the interim period? And why has it never once been addressed in any meaningful capacity, like just simply the recall issue, let alone the fact that the tests can say whatever the fuck you want them to say, depending on what cycle you set them to. And if you tell a hospital we're setting PCR tests at this cycle, that's the protocol, they're of course going to do that. So you're guaranteeing false positives, you're guaranteeing inflated numbers, you're guaranteeing this sort of perpetual, beat you down with fear and then give you the semblance of a little bit of your life back and then yank it away again.
And I think it's pretty clear why that is. I mean, Joe kept asking Peter on that show, why is this happening? Why, what's the intention behind it? And Peter did say that it's planned, I would say. And I mean, that's what we're seeing now. So they can do all they want with the media and the PCR tests and say what they want. There's no repercussions at all.
Man, I was really hoping that we were going to get about 10 more minutes of Peter McCullough on Union of the Unwanted, because Graham and I can't remember, somebody else had been bringing up some pretty salient points and sort of like getting it to the digital ID conversation and the humanity on the blockchain conversation. And it got like right up to a point and McCullough was like, bye, look at the time.
Well, yeah,
I got to
be super careful. He's got to be super careful. Otherwise, he's like walking down a fucking tightrope of credibility, right? So he's got to be real careful, or he's going to give them a bunch of fucking ammo to discredit him. It's better for him if he just 100% sticks to COVID science and doesn't start speculating, in my opinion anyway, speculating on any of that other stuff. There's plenty of people that can speculate on that other stuff. And I'm worried that if Dr. McCullough starts doing that, then it's just going to give him, everyone else, plenty of, well, look at this guy. He's saying this, and that. We can't believe anything he says.
He went far enough on Rogan. I mean, one thing
he went even a bit farther than he should have on Rogan.
The one thing I didn't agree with him on that is the 90%. He talked about 90% efficacy. And of course, I don't know if it was he was talking about the trial data from Pfizer and all that on the when they were talking about the 95%. But it's not that 9 out of 10 people or 90% of people. It's that there's a difference between 0.08% and 0.15%, or, that was where they got that from the trial. So I wish they would have clarified that, because he made it sound like all these efficacies you hear are like 90 equals 9 out of 10 or 90% equals 90% of the people. That's not the way they measure these things. So that was the one main issue I had with that interview.
I think on the whole that there's probably, a couple, let's say the 15, 20, or somebody with Rogan's audience, maybe like 250,000 people who would pick up on that. But the vast majority of the people who listen to that interview, I think for the first time, were exposed to the reality that there are ways that you can treat this early. There are things that you can do that don't require hospitalization. And just the fact that that he was able to very clearly and very with all of the authority that the most publicized cardiologist on the planet could possibly have, say that when hospitals were telling you, don't even show up until you can't breathe. Like, unless you're blue, don't come in. That they were guaranteeing death and injury by doing that, and that people have every right on the planet to go and seek compensation for what are, realistically murders, but wrongful death lawsuits just waiting to happen.
Yeah, when I came across the border, as Darren was mentioning, positive, I had COVID. I was starting to feel the effects of it. And they just let me, they didn't even follow up with my quarantine. They just let us come home. They let us go home and quarantine at home. But they didn't give me any advice. Like, there was no medical.
Call 911 when you're ready to die.
Yeah. You can't survive at home. Look for go to the hospital. Call the ambulance.
My protocol turned out to be better than
even just like basic stuff, like take vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, like not even basic stuff, just 911.
I did end up talking to a doctor on the phone instead of going into the hospital because it was a little bit, it was dragging out for me a little bit, even though I was taking ivermectin and all kinds of vitamins and almost the whole cocktail. I mean, of course, I didn't have Rogan's NAD, or the what do you call that? The monoclonal antibodies, but I think it was actually the NAD that Rogan took that was so underrated in this whole thing. I can't believe I haven't seen a lot of studies or people talking about NAD in this regard. But anyways, the doctor he was like, okay, well, that's good that you're taking the stuff. Cause I was telling him I was, vitamin D and C and quercetin and zinc and all that kind of stuff. But when I asked him about ivermectin, he didn't agree with that at all. But
He's not allowed to.
I mean, but at least he did acknowledge and say, well, that's good. Because I did stop taking the vitamins for a while. And he asked me why. And he said, you shouldn't have stopped that. I just felt like I was taking too much and it was sort of, I don't know. I just felt like I should stop it, but I probably shouldn't have now that I think back.
Graham was on a real roller coaster.
That sucks, dude. When my family got it in like November of 2019, we were laid out for weeks, but nobody's been sick since, like at all. I mean, even with regular head cold shit or like seasonal flu, it hasn't got them yet. And I do think that some of that probably has to do with how like sanitization freaked out the entire planet got. Like if you're obsessively cleaning and washing hands and wiping down surfaces and stuff, like you're probably not gonna get, a seasonal flu or cold or whatever as quickly. But this nonsense that they're still making people mask up, like even Gavin Newsom had to back down on the fucking mask shit. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. After 2 years, finally, that smug fuck had to admit that, like, maybe we weren't 100% correct on this all the way, and it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. I have school-age children. I see what they have to go through for this stuff. It makes me sick, dude. It makes me so angry, and I'm very glad that they live in a place that, like, has rejected all of this nonsense more or less outright. The high school that my kid goes to, like the whole staff there had a mask revolt and was like, no, we're not going to do this. This is dumb. No. I mean, yeah, you can write us up. You can give us disciplinary measures. You can fire us. You're not going to have a school. This is a tiny little, gold rush town that has like a whole bunch of people from all over the place that get, busted to go to it to fill the size of a school to justify having it in the first place. Who's going to teach so the administration was like, well, we'll look the other way. And that's how they've operated until Newsom finally pulled the mandate.
That's how it is with sports teams, I've found. Just because, like, at one section of my school, it's like mask mandates everywhere. Then you go to the gym and it's like nobody gives a fuck because you recognize how bullshit it is.
Close.
Yeah.
Well, it's still, I mean, in the public places, it's still, it's still required here in most places in Canada. It's still people have to mask. I mean, I go to the store and 99, maybe 98% of the people are masked right now. It's pretty crazy. And there's still sanitizing everywhere. I mean, there's no adjustment to actual science. So they're not looking at other countries or states or anything.
Yeah, that's how it is in Los Angeles pretty much, and the restrictions are still pretty tight as well. It's just that there's a rising number of people that just don't give a fuck, and there's a rising number of people that can't be asked to enforce it. So it's like with the jab mandate, technically, restaurants are supposed to be enforcing that shit, but like half of the coffee shops I've been to since it got put in place are just like they can't be asked to enforce it. Or they'll ask like a bait ass question like, "Oh, are you planning to dine in or take out at a coffee shop?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take out. so that way they don't have to ask for it. So it's like people just don't give a fuck to actually enforce it in like a very harsh manner.
That's a great idea. I mean, I wish they were doing that up here.
I've only gone out once, so I don't know what it's like out there.
I just stopped wearing masks like pretty much the whole time. There were a few times like I particularly enjoyed because I would only wear a bandana because I felt like if we're gonna do something this fucking ridiculous, let's go ahead and take it to its absurdest possible conclusion. I've worn like Guy Fawkes masks in the grocery store shopping and shit like that. Yes, I have a mask on. Yes, I do. Say something. But the bandana going into the bank is my favorite. It is having to let's go rob the stagecoach about it and walk into the bank with the fucking bandana pulled up over my face. It's like the funnest fucking thing for me about it because I'm not taking any of this shit seriously. I had the thing kicked my ass for a few days. I got better. And fucking that's kind of life. I don't know if the audience is kind of aware of this. And obviously the thing with my truck, that's just the latest heap of shit that's come my way, dude. I've had like phones and bank accounts hacked. I've had like all kinds of wild shit go on over the last few years. I'm not going to be afraid of essentially like the flu or a bad cold. And I'll do the best to take care of myself. But when it comes down to like anyone from any state or anyone who's acting as a perceived authority, trying to use really bad science or fear porn to sort of enforce authority, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. And most of the time, nobody said shit when I walked around maskless, no matter where I am. The coastal city, shit like that. But man, California is dumb, like really dumb with that shit on the coastal cities. In a lot of places, you get inland, and you're probably, may as well be in fucking Alberta in a lot of places. But the coasts are just fucking retarded, dude. It sucks.
People really won't say much here, but they're just scared. Like Darren had the experience where, because he was going he traveled maskless for a while, and he was going maskless, and then this old lady in the drugstore kind of got all scared, and it's like, well, you don't want to scare people, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are still scared around here, so it's not even us against the government right now. It's us against 40% of the population that agrees with everything that's happening.
Pretty much. I mean, like I don't know. I just wish there was something that like would make people take that first step to take off the mask, because the amount of instances where I'll be sitting in a classroom or something, and someone will come in like heavily breathing with the mask on because they clearly rushed to class, and I'm just like, hey, like you can take off the mask, and like breathe. So yeah, I just wish there was that like extra little like don't give a fuck to push people to that point, because I see it growing. At least like it's still dumb, but it's growing.
Start putting up pictures of what bacterial pneumonia looks like.
I mean, the extra jabs are what's going to do it. The boosters coming around and being locked down and gathering limits, even when you're vaccinated, people are just like, what the fuck, bro? This is not what the fucking brochure said. And they're just
indoor
gonna lose
mask mandates for private residences in Santa Cruz, California.
Well,
Indoor, I'm not kidding.
That's just crazy. I mean, that's just stuff you say, right? That's just stuff you say. That's just stuff you say. Like, no, who's enforcing that? But
are they like calling people to be like, hey, okay, you got a mask on? Like
in the windows. Bang, bang, bang. Get your mask on, motherfucker.
So here's what that is, though. Here's what that is. That's the let's see if anybody's dumb enough to do it, and let's find out who the snitches are. because
don't
the
think
only
it's
way
that.
that gets reported is if somebody snitches.
And still, then what's going to happen? Then the cops going to show up and do what? That's
Right?
just
Maybe.
that's shit you say to appease the fucking 30% of these people that you've got so fucking riled up now that you don't know what the fuck to do. I mean, I guarantee you there's people out there that are on the side of the mandates and stuff like that that are just like, whoa, who the fuck thought we could get 30% of these people this fucking worked up that now we can't even back out of this? I mean, there's been more than one occasion here in Alberta where the government has like sort of inch towards trying to get out of this, and the fucking backlash is fucking crazy. You guys are fucking killing people. The opposition party now jumps on that as a to get everyone riled up. There's 30% of the population that will burn this motherfucker down just as hard as the people that are anti-mandates right now are trying, or not burn it down, but protesting. There's the big fucking protests every Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it is, against mandates and this and that. Now, if Kenny comes out tomorrow, which is our premier here, kind of the equivalent of a governor, but with less power, and says, all right, no more mandates, vaccine passports over, I guarantee you next weekend, there's going to be a protest just as big as the one that's going on right now, calling for them to resign for now because they're not doing anything and they're fucking killing people. I mean, this is this weird fucking position that we find ourselves in, that I wonder, like, even if the governments right now decide, okay, it's time to start backing out of COVID, which I think I've seen evidence that they might have tried to do a couple of times. And then it's like, oh, fuck. Well, now what do we do? Now what the fuck do we do? Because if we shut it down, these people freak out. When we open it up, those people freak out. And there's like 60% of the people in the middle that don't know what the fuck to do because they're just sort of going with the fucking
Well, I mean, there
And
were
then-
sects of the country that got like so ass mad when like Texas lifted its mask mandate.
right.
And
That's
then it
where
was-
we're at. We're
yeah.
freaking out to another fucking state that's not even part of our, what, you fucking crazy assholes.
That's what I was just going to say, that we're going to feel the wrath of the rest of the country as
Yeah.
well.
Some of that's manufactured, but a lot of it's not. I mean, we've got this weird spot now where all these people who got nothing better to do are all fucking riled up about fucking COVID. And I would argue that now that whoever's putting the fucking thing on, even if they want to end it right now, and like I say, I think I see evidence that they might not have wanted to even keep this shit going on as long as they did in some instances, not all over the place, but there's definitely some governments that want to go the Texas or Florida route at this point. But the fucking constant MSM down their fucking pharma propaganda down their throats has like, I don't know if it's 30% or 20%. I don't know what the spectrum is, but there's just as many people that will freak the fuck out if the mandates and shit start to go away as are freaking the fuck out for the mandates to just stop right now. Now, obviously, I'm on the side of no mandates, blah, blah, blah. And I would argue that if we would have fucking avoided this fucking highfalutin bullshit from the beginning, we never had to get this riled up and find ourselves in this fucking pressure cooker situation. But I wouldn't want to be a public official right now because sure, it's easy to say, okay, there's fuck all going on. I mean, Ron DeSantis probably has quite a big fucking armed thing following him around right now. These politicians in the States that are standing out again. I mean, you've got the other people so fucking riled up that I don't know where we're at for people taking a shot or fucking, you know what I mean? Who knows? But there's a set of the population, a set percentage of the population that thinks Ron DeSantis is a fucking murderer, straight up. And I mean, it's their fault for getting them that riled up. But that's where we find ourselves now, where there's people that are so fucking riled up about COVID that getting them off of the fucking bridge is going to take some work and some time.
There's also people so riled up about COVID that they don't see the actual areas where Ron DeSantis does harm, like in trying to outlaw free expression in Florida and making sure that businesses always pledge their undying love for Israel or else they'll get sanctioned. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're in a different spot in Canada too because we're so big and spread out. I mean, of course, there's a few big cities, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, that kind of stuff. But there's not enough people to even protest or to make this make this go away. Like in Europe, it's completely different, I think. I mean, there's enough people that they're out in the streets. They're like, and in Australia, of course, it's complete opposite. And we're in this weird little spot where it's almost like we're cozy enough as things are. And if it gets any worse, it might cause a few more people to come to the side against mandates. But
if we could get another hour away from the city, we'd be laughing. Like you go down to Crow's Nest Pass and stuff like that, and it's just nobody gives a fuck. But Alberta's, I mean, the thing is that Calgary's like a major world fucking class city. It's a metropolis. It's like, the greater Calgary area is almost 2 million fucking people. And it's just like, that's where the real divide seems to be more than anything else. Because I bet you if you go to Dallas or Houston, it's probably a bit of a fucking hit and miss there as well. And even when you get into the cities in Montana, because Montana's freedom, right? Montana's freedom, which means freedom both ways. That means freedom to say fuck masks in your store if you want, or it means freedom to say, I want you to wear a mask in my store. And you sort of seen that both ways in Montana. Some stores wanted a mask, other stores didn't have anything on the door. Some stores would have some masks, would say please, or can you? But there's no mandates or anything like that, anything like that in Montana. But it's very much. And Montana doesn't really have any giant cities to speak of, but they still have their cities that have 50, 60, 70,000 people. And you dip into them and it's a little more, I guess, a little more masked up. And it's kind of, you go into the store and it's maybe 20% of the people have a mask. I mean, the crazy thing about Montana is everything's a casino. No one talks about that, but you go get some gas, you go fucking hit the casino while they're filling you up, or you want to. Every fucking place has a little casino attached to the back of it. It's great.
In Florida, what it basically is most of the stores, or some of the stores, at least around like Miami-Dade and Broward County, they'll have like little flyers up on the doors that say, "Oh, masks are recommended," but they're not actually like mandatory, and of course they're not going to enforce it, and nobody's going to ask you to wear one, and you can just walk into the store without one, not giving a fuck. So
yeah, that's pretty much what I experienced in Montana. I mean, here at home, I just started wearing the mask because, like I said, we're in the major metropolis area where there's just, the people are drinking the Kool-Aid to a level enough that me not wearing a mask doesn't do anything. In my opinion, we're past the point of me not wearing a mask, making other people take their masks off, or we're past the point of the mask mandate going away. So once I had the experience with scaring the old lady in the drugstore, I just started wearing the mask, and I'll just, tuck it down under my nose so it doesn't fog up my glasses. That's sort of enough to. And then sort of the longer I'm in the store, the further it'll come down. If I come on my phone, I actually ended up becoming one of those mask under the chin guys a lot of the time. But I mean, whatever. I mean, it's like we're past the mask, I guess, up here at this point, and it's cold. It's cold.
Well, now we can't even fly domestically now. I mean, we can't go in BC. So in Alberta, we can't eat at the food court, because we haven't taken the, and then BC next door, you can eat in the food court, but you can't go to, they're saying now, don't go to people's houses that if you're not they're giving people direction to say, leave the unvaccinated people away from your personal parties and stuff too. And I mean, there's all these little tweaks in the rules that just don't make any sense between provinces, but we're all pretty much at the same level of tyranny to a certain extent, all above a certain line anyways.
I should try going out for lunch again this week and see.
Oh, the other example is in BC, you can go have coffee. You can go have coffee, or you can sit in a gondola ride up the mountain, without it, which is fine. But then in Alberta, you can't go to the food court. I mean, it's very strange. And you can go to a casino here and you can get a free test and hang out wherever you want for a weekend with a negative test. But in BC, there is no testing to get away from this stuff. So,
I have a negative test on me. It's crazy. My luck.
You what?
I always have a negative test on me. It's crazy. My luck. I always seem to have one.
That's hilarious. I fucking it's
As long as I don't
it's so
accidentally give them one from the future, then we're okay.
right.
Whoops, give me that
I-
back. That's for next week.
Darren at Grimerica.com.
No emails. No, I'm full. Service is full.
That's funny. Fucking it's so weird. I've been all over the US throughout this thing, and it's not even state by state that it's different. It's like city by city, town by town. There are parts of California that they will freak out on you if you're not in a hazmat suit, basically. And there are parts of California where they look at you like you've got four heads for having the mask on. You know, it's just and it's 100% down to population density, the politics of a particular segment of the population for the most part. And then when you look at the people who are refusing the jabby jabs, the highest concentration on a basis of degree of refuseniks are PhDs. PhDs overwhelmingly have no interest in taking this thing, being a part of any experiment without informed consent, understand the difference between airborne and it's going to stay on surfaces for up to 145 years unless you order it from an Amazon warehouse, and then it doesn't, you know. Second group of refuseniks is people who did not go to college. People who like that 30-40% seems to just be, or mostly be, within that I've got a 4-year degree. I've got, essentially like liberal arts training or specialized in one particular area training, live in a particular class structure with certain allowable media parameters. And that's it. That's what it's down to. But the whole 2 years has made a perfect case for abolishing the state, in my opinion. Like, it's just underscored the utter uselessness of government. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking crazy. I don't think I am.
Well, just remember that the people that are pushing the government to do the things they're doing are giant corporations. So, and if the
abolish giant corporations too.
Government puppets get out of the way, then it's just going to be those giant corporations that are hiring their own soldiers and doing that sort of thing. So, it's a tempting thing to just want to abolish the state right now, but you kind of had to abolish the state before it got started, because now the game is so fucking rigged that you're going to have a real problem getting rid of your Amazons and your Facebooks and your fucking Chinese shipping companies. I would argue that the West has some of the greatest democratic governments ever envisioned. And that's why they are where they are today. Now, the last 30, 40, 50 years, they've been sort of taken over by oligarchy. Maybe that was the plan the whole time. But the state was a pretty clever, especially the American state in particular, was a pretty clever idea. And if you could get the money out of it and the corporations out of it, and maybe go to some sort of a draft system where Congress people are just fucking drafted and everyone's drafted and nobody that actually wants any power ends up with it. It's just a fucking draft system. You go do your fucking 2 years and it's a constituent based, which is how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be fucking 500 and however many people making decisions for the rest of the country. It's supposed to be a representative for each of those counties and each of those areas so that your constituent from your county is bringing your fucking voice to Washington. And I think we'd see a much different fucking country down there if that was still happening. And I would argue that just tossing that state out, which might be the plan here, right? That might be the plan. because the one thing the left and the right seem to agree on at the end of the day, and seem to be getting closer and closer to agreeing on, is that the state needs to go, you know? And when I was younger, it was the left that said the state had too much power. Now it's the right saying, but the thing that the one sort of thing that if you listen properly, you can hear from both sides, is that the state has to go. And I would argue the state disappearing right now in 2020 would lead to something that isn't great. It would probably just lead to a new power structure that is very, very much more authoritarian and top-down dictator, or more open oligarchy, right? They always teach us to follow Rome and look back at Rome as the godfather of this and that. Well, Rome's like an open fucking oligarchy, right? I don't know if Rome was real or not, or if it was just sort of they dreamed up all the fucking Roman history to have us believe that this sort of ruling structure is the one to go with. But I mean, that American, I mean, the reason that you guys are doing better than we are right now is because of that Constitution and because of a lot of the different state powers and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, but we're supposed to have that too. I mean, you could argue
we
that
have a very different.
I don't think the Constitution's protecting anything. I think it's just that they have a semblance of freedom with
we have
guns
a
and
very
everything else.
different
I mean,
government.
We bought the marketing in a lot of ways. We did.
Yeah.
We bought into the marketing. We bought into the marketing of a democracy, which is basically
Well,
mob
it's not
rule.
that
You
you
get that.
bought
But I
into
look real quickly.
It's more
I think
you
that
sold it. You sold it.
if you yeah. But it as a a government of last resort for me as a government of last resort, representative republic, all for that. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's a great concept. I don't think that there's a way to do it with 365 million people under a centralized federal structure. But I think that if you had, like, I don't know, it seems like it would be more workable if you had like confederated, or a federation of republics rather than a centralized federal structure. But that's just based on looking at how centralized power structures have acted and operated, and the the fact that they don't run without bureaucrats. And if there's any group of people that should be lined up against the wall and put away en masse, it's bureaucrats.
Lawyers.
And I mean,
Okay.
part of the problem is if you take the parts of the world right now that don't really have any government or any sort of oversight or anything like that, it's sort of the oceans, right? And when you look at what's happening out in the fucking oceans with the giant fucking oil spills, no one really gives a fuck about. I mean, that's the stuff that happens close enough to the shore, like the BP oil spill, that we got to talk about it, because we know who the fuck knows what's happening out in the middle of the fucking oceans. We got the giant garbage patches and shit like that, and we got Amazon and these other fucking companies running super tankers back and forth from
ship tracks.
Deep sea mining.
that are causing arguably the biggest problem we have with the climate right now are ship tracks getting pumped up from these giant super tankers going back and
Yes.
forth that are forming giant artificial clouds over the Pacific Ocean that are slowly sucking up the fucking all the moisture, and they're going to turn the west coast into a fucking desert until they finally let all that fucking moisture go and dump it out. But the point is, there's the places where we have no regulation, like those ship tracks, those fucking ship tracks, just from our shipping system back and forth to China, are probably the biggest ecological problem on the fucking planet right now, because they're burning a fucking fuel called bunker fuel that's so fucking dirty that one ship doing one return trip is putting more shit into the air than all the cars in fucking North America put into the air in the entire fucking year. In the entire year, one ship, one return trip. Now, my concern with just getting rid of what we're supposed to have, but we don't have now, what we're supposed to have, is that now the four of us sitting around the table are going to lose any fucking input on that whatsoever. And I mean, I'm not saying we have a lot now, but I guess my argument more is that the revolution should be to take back the sort of governing system we have now. And maybe the states need to be split up. It's probably too big, but I do get a little worried. I used to be a libertarian, anarchist, sort of bordering there, and COVID has me circling back around that again. But I mean, my buddy Dave Matheson has kind of talked me into a few of the things that what a couple of the possibilities would be once any sort of regulation gets out of the way. I mean, if I could people not to be dicks, it'd be a different thing. But I worry that as soon as there's no government saying you don't have to, then, all of a sudden everything's running bunker fuel, or fucking, it's just easier to dump that shit into the river, or it's just easier to fucking take that shit and dump it into the ocean, or, even with the bits of regulation we try to have now, half of us can't drink our fucking tap water.
I would point out that more often than not, everyone's chief concerns about the what ifs of anarchy are almost always current descriptions of the status quo.
Yeah, I could get on board with anarchy if everyone's starting on an equal playing field, but right now they're not. Right now,
no, you're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about
dollars that are going to be able to build walled palaces and armed guards and private armies. And I got fucking not enough money to do much, and if we can do that and we can like start from square one all together, I'm in. But I'm a little worried that I can't trust the people that have all the power and assets right now to just like not use those to crush me even further.
It's a very good point.
Yeah, certainly.
But we have to be realistic that the system's not just going to come apart and allow. It's not going to just change. We have to create a parallel system of some sort. I think that's what's got to happen. Is the global takeover is going to keep happening, and we're just going to have to get out of the way of it. Let it either collapse or let it take over, and then we'll have to create our own communities and our own system and our own economy. And
that's like not as much pressure as you think. That's just you doing you, man. That's not like you're not responsible for anybody else except for you and yours. And
well, I think that with the concept of a parallel society or building parallel structures, especially while we're in the middle of this shit, like while all of this shit is going on, while we can witness the failure of the public-private partnership, while we can witness the failure. Because the thing about Bezos and Amazon and Elon Musk and all that shit, the only reason they're a company, any of them, to a person, is because the federal government subsidized their existence. The federal government continues to subsidize their existence. Farmers get subsidized for letting food rot and spoil. Like, these are all things that only are allowable because of the public-private partnership. I'm not making a case for it, deregulation 100% across the board as society stands right now. I'm not that dude. I'm never going to be that dude.
No, I get it. But the thing to remember is you're still sitting in the greatest country on earth right now. Like, where would
it's good to live in the heart of the empire. 100%.
Where would you rather be in the world right now if you could go anywhere?
Nicaragua.
Oh my God, Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Well, you could go to Nicaragua tomorrow. What's stopping?
Actually, I can't. I'm not allowed to travel internationally. I have a dispute situation with my passport. I get to leave once.
You need a passport to go to Nicaragua?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
I would assume you could just kind of go.
I mean, you can if you're,
where,
clever enough.
Operation Golden Eagle.
Is that where the fellow we had on the show was? No, he was up on the north coast of Africa someplace.
I think so. No,
America, you mean?
No, he was in Africa. He left America. I forget.
Nicaragua's in.
We've had him on a bunch of shows.
Central America.
Oh, in Central America, right. Ooh, Central America scares me. I don't know. I'm a big Argentina fan, but I feel like that's a real pressure cooker down there.
I'm not.
I am because of Maradona, but I mean,
Maradona is the only thing Argentina's got going for it, because I also have to consider
good cocaine and a great twerk team.
A history of settler colonialism and brutal racism bordering on genocide. So
yeah, and then where's Whitney's down there, and she said it's just a fucking nightmare. And where is it, Ecuador or
she's in Chile?
Yeah,
she was in Chile.
Isn't she back in Chile now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Now Brazil seems all right, but now that motherfucker's just chopping down the rainforest like crazy. I mean, well, actually, he's mostly burning it.
Well, and Bolsonaro's just a U.S. puppet.
They're
The
probably all
Brazilian
US
president.
puppets.
Yeah, I mean, there's our good friends from the Convo Couch have been in Nicaragua and Honduras and Guatemala covering elections, and there are places that have like pockets of resistance to just being steamrolled by the West. And are doing a little bit better, but it's when you get down to, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask to make a case for any kind of government. So
Yeah, I guess my point at the end of the day was that a lot of people in Canada and Europe and Australia right now are like, fuck, man, I sure wish I was in Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Montana, parts of California, any place but fucking here. And that's just sort of because I'm in Canada right now looking at land in Montana saying, when the fuck do I need to go down to the States? Because I don't think the States will hold out forever. But from what I can see, it looks like it'll probably be the last vestige of freedom, or at least in the way we see it. And or the way we've experienced it up till now, there seems to be 4 or 5. I see that number sort of growing too. It might get up to a dozen states that have sort of fucking had enough and seem to be at least trying to push back. Whereas in Europe and Canada, that the pushback doesn't really exist.
I feel like there's, at least with some parts of Europe, there's a lot of resistance in the streets.
In the
Now,
streets, yeah, but what that equates to is that the government just has too much power already.
True.
To the, like, you're in Europe and Canada, we're fighting to get a lot of that power back. Whereas in the States, you're fighting to not give it up, which is a position I'd probably rather be in, because it's always harder to claw that back. I mean, the reason that Europe's in the position it's in is because the governments have had the power to take things that much further. I mean, and Biden's trying. I mean, he's saying stuff. He's what that, but he's sort of trying to act like that Trudeau or these European people that are allowed to just sort of do whatever the fuck they want. It's okay to say, you can't get on a fucking airplane and there's zero pushback in Canada or in Europe. I mean, I'm not in Europe, so I can't speak to them, or I'm not in Australia, so I can't speak to that. But I can say this: if I was picking someplace, it's probably someplace in Montana, or at least someplace in the States. There's a bunch of great states. But if I had a country to move to right now, it's probably the U.S. And I don't.
I'm trying to get out of here.
Where do you want to go?
Me?
Yeah.
Maybe Nicaragua. That would be a good place. I could also try Cuba or Venezuela, or I want to say places in Africa, but it's very clear that there's an agenda heading there that's going to lead to some very convenient terrorism operations. So
not only that, that's going to be, I mean, if the Cold War starts up between the US and China, you're going to see some proxies over there for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the big things that's happening right now is in the Horn of Africa region. In Ethiopia specifically, the U.S. is essentially trying to reassert its stake in the Horn of Africa via NATO backing the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, essentially doing terrorist attacks against the people of Ethiopia and the Ethiopian government. So, but then also the government of Ethiopia is led by a neoliberal. So it's like, yeah.
Some people like Mexico too, but you got no fucking guns down there. If they decide to flip it, you're done. You're done. I mean, and the thing about Mexico is it seems like certain people are allowed to have guns. So you're like, it's not just the government you have to worry about. It's like,
yeah.
Well, and those certain people that are allowed to have guns also carry the weight of the threat of violence that the DEA will bring on anybody who messes with those people. Like there's a partnership, long, storied, beautiful. It's a special hug that our intelligence services gave Mexican and Central and South American drug cartels so that we would be the ones to, no matter what, win the drug war, because
Isn't that why they
the
killed Paul
federal
Walker?
government, huh?
Isn't that why they killed Paul Walker?
Yeah, yeah,
To-
yeah,
to
and
keep
Gary
the
Webb
bomb
and a
fast
number of
and
other people.
furious?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's throughout the existence of the drug war, it was designed so that U.S. law enforcement and intelligence services would be the ones who largely controlled the flow, at least in this hemisphere. We can't really do a whole lot about Asia, although that's a lot of what Afghanistan was about, was trying to get a stranglehold of the fucking heroin trade.
Mhm.
I mean, we've been doing that shit since, God, Vietnam, not a little bit before. Going to war to help create a global fucking drug empire as a sideline. It's been a great control mechanism. We got what, 25% of the prisons or of the planet's population locked up in our prisons.
And the
Yeah.
petrodollar.
I think that's why we're seeing this European pushback, though, and I think that could be the sort of our ace in a hole, is that they have a physical memory of 2 wars ripping through there, and we don't have this in Canada, right? I mean, yeah, we send people off to help in these wars, but we don't have this trauma, physical trauma, generational trauma from actual world wars. So they see this coming. I mean, the Europeans might, I think they're kind of like, maybe there's some hope there.
We should ship them some guns.
We should. What's crazy is that the AfD in Germany, the far right anti-immigration party, is the party that's going, I don't know if you've noticed this, but they're rounding people up and putting them into the camps
Oh
for the
my
forced vaccination. I thought we said we were going to stop this. And those are the people making the case for the don't round people up and throw them into camps. We've been down this road. It goes bad, and it's this, I don't know, World Economic Forum Young Global Leader Assembly of neoliberal shitheels that are driving the majority of this, at least in the West.
Is the pendulum swinging back from pick your gender?
I don't know.
Because
I don't know.
Hard swing for a couple of years once we get to that far right again. But I've been keeping my eye on that pendulum because it's got to start coming sooner or later, right? We can't just keep going further that way.
So I think we're getting convergences of it sort of within an allowable set of outcomes, because the public-private partnership is failing on a grand scale. And you're going to see the rise of those. We are seeing the rise of those space pirate libertarians. That shit's happening. It
New
is.
world.
Yeah. They're going for it. And what I've been noticing, and what I really want to take some time to look into, is that the Epstein transhumanist network that he was developing at Harvard and was trying to get out of there with Larry Summers and Steven Pinker and a bunch of these other incredibly brilliant, definitely went to the island to give lectures guys. They're all in Austin, Texas now. And they have a thing going with Lex Friedman and Elon Musk and Barry Weiss and a bunch of the Weinstein brothers. And it's called the University of Austin. And it's this think tank of Peter Thiel and Epstein connected geniuses that are all working on some fucking wild transhumanist shit. not making any of this up. Like this, and it's fucking, former President and Clinton fucking Treasury Secretary Larry Summers and Steven Pinker, who was just on Joe Rogan, who Joe Rogan never once asked him about Jeffrey Epstein. And it's and it's centered in Austin, Texas. And this is going to be the heart of freedom and liberty and fucking exploration. It's just, it's wild to me. It is, but it's that convergence of, massive overlord state or space pirate libertarian. Those are going to be your two choices. That's the false dichotomy going forward, in my opinion.
That is weird if the brothers are there too, because I mean, like the Dark Horse is pushing back quite a bit against this, and they're kind of from the left too. So there is a section of the left there that is actually kind of pushing back in their own way. So it is interesting getting them involved and having that perception of it being sort of all encompassing.
Well, I don't think we could forget that. God, I think it's Eric is Peter Thiel's money guy. Maybe it's Brett. I can't, but one of them. There you go. Founding trustees.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Niall Ferguson. Barry Weiss. I mean, it's just wild. Founder of Palantir. Co-founder of Palantir. Sorry.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Go to the
The board of advisors. Yeah.
Like this is just these are all of the people.
There's Lex Friedman.
Yeah, these are all of the people that you're going to find in a deposition that, Andrew Sullivan. I mean, and this is totally like, this is created out of whole cloth. There's no accreditation thing. There's no actual university attachment to it. This is just, we're going to do some wild shit. Peter Bagassian. Yeah.
Fine. That's Neuralink.
Yeah.
Are you going to get one? Are you going to get a Neuralink?
Am I going to get a Neuralink?
Yeah.
No, I am not going to get a Neuralink.
I've thought about it, and the answer is still no.
That's fucking horrifying, man.
Yeah, I think I'll pass too.
I don't like. I'm not. Obviously, I'm doing a fucking show on the internet and shit. Like, I'm not anti-technology, but I do think that maybe we could like push pause for a minute until everyone can at least figure out how to manipulate their email. Like, we don't necessarily have to go scaling down to the nanoparticle level for real-time surveillance of every living organism. We could push pause for a minute. We maybe recognize that like there's about to be a fucking war over silicon chip production. And I mean, that's like one of the B stories to the whole China-Taiwan thing is that 65% of all fucking silicon chips come from 2 semiconductor factories in Taiwan. That makes it geographically one of the most important places on the planet.
Isn't Texas making one now?
I think it's in the infrastructure bill. Money to create semiconductor plants. And there's one, but it in no way, shape, or form competes. And I don't even know if it can afford to sell their products in the state in which they make them for where anyone would be able to pay the money for it to have it produced here.
Not gonna have a choice soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a ambitiously 7-year project to create a semiconductor factory.
Because Taiwan's going away right away. Few more weeks, maybe 8 weeks tops.
You think?
I think during the closing ceremonies of the Olympics.
What leads you to that? That's interesting. Let's hear about that.
Well, I mean, I think they've been posturing for a long time, and the only thing stopping them from doing it is the fact that they're holding the Olympics. And as more and more people back out of the Olympics, like we'll see who actually ends up going now that they're saying if you test positive for COVID, we're locking you up for like 6 weeks or something. I think the Olympics has been sort of this whole thing hanging over. And once that's gone away, however that ends up going away, whether it's if it goes away by boycott and nobody goes, then it's definitely happening. But I think it's sort of happening either way. I think
All right.
it looks like since a few countries said they were going to diplomatically boycott, whatever the fuck that means, China's almost positioning now to push people away from coming.
Yeah, why not diplomatically boycott the fucking World Cup being held in the, what is it, United Arab Emirates or Qatar or something like that?
Before that came up, there was no talk of athletes being open up to a 5-week fucking quarantine facility in China. So it almost seems like China's now positioning to say, no, fuck it, don't come. We're taking Taiwan. I think they wanted to get everyone over there and they were going to take Taiwan while they were there. What do you do then? What do you do when all the a bunch of fucking politicians and athletes and diplomats from your country are in China while it takes over Taiwan? What do you do? It's got like fucking 10,000 hostages, high level ones.
Damn.
But I think
mean,
the only reason it hasn't happened yet is because of the Olympics. I mean, I see no indication that China is worried about U.S. nuclear power anymore. I don't know why, but I see no indication that they're that worried about it. Now, I don't know why that is, but I see no indication that they don't plan to take Taiwan, and I don't think that the West is going to do a fucking thing about it.
I mean, Vietnam kind of exposed the U.S. as really being a bunch of losers.
So I think that that's because most people haven't picked up on how the U.S. fights war anymore, and that the purpose of war is no longer to win it. The purpose of war is to perpetuate it, because you've got multiple economic ecosystems that you've created around all of the manufacturing processes for weapons of war. You've got the infinite deals with military contractors that get to go rebuild after their bombs blew up someplace.
Human trafficking, red markets.
Yes, and then all of the law enforcement and intelligence apparatuses that have risen up around it. The amount of new spooks we've created and new spook divisions just in this century, it is totally fucking out of hand. It's insane. But there's there's lots of different ways to look at US and China, and I do think that there's some, I don't know if certainty is the right word, but there's a good chance that we'll see some kind of conflict. But I think the deals have already been made at levels above government and military for what Whitney Webb is referred to as the technocratic panopticon. That not necessarily that one world government, but the multi-district with one governing board government, and the US and the West and China, especially where their 8 immortal families are concerned, have had these deals inked in a long time. You may have to clear some of the punters out. You may have to go ahead and do the war to do some depopulation or to get some new deals signed or some new alliances formed. But on a macro level, the partnerships have existed and were essentially the sole reason for Nixon sending Kissinger over there in the early 70s.
One of the guys on the Union recently, Alex from somewhere I think he was in Eastern Europe, and now I can't remember his exact name, but he thinks that the war is going to be their way out of this COVID thing. Is like it has to transition to a war, basically. Maybe it's because, like Darren said, they can't back out in a lot of these places anyway. So now you're going to have to bring it all together with a war, an overt war, not this sort of World War III information data war, but a traditional conflict.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody's gonna go for the boots on the ground traditional conflict thing. I really don't. Like, I mean, we've got an all volunteer military as is. If the US reinstitutes the draft, that's going to be a shit show. Especially after the fucking like intentional pussification of the American male for the last 30 years, hardcore. Like, good luck. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
Got to blame COVID on China eventually.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, but when Steve said that, it reminded me, what's up with that clip with that dude on Tucker who was like, we don't need a woke military. We need a military full of type A men that want to sit on a throne of Chinese skulls. Like,
Jesus Christ.
it's a real clip. And I oh my God, it's like, did you see it, Steve?
I can't remember who said this. I'll go find it.
I'm gonna find it.
I
I'm
will.
gonna find it. I brought it up. I have to find it.
Go. Yeah. But I mean, yes. So you do have to find some balance. There's got to be some balance between, let's go sit on a throne of Chinese skulls and let's sit around and talk about our feelings all day. Like, there's got to be, some sort of balance between that. But I don't know. I honestly don't. We've put so much into what is referred to militaristically as asymmetrical superiority, to where we've got every conceivable advantage, and ground troops isn't one of those. Oh yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, what we're watching is the destruction of the U.S. military, and what we're going to end up seeing, Tucker, is thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Americans die. Those are the stakes of the game we're playing here. We don't need a military that's woman-friendly. We don't need a military that's gay-friendly, with all due respect to the Air Force. We need a military that's flat-out hostile. We need a military full of type A men who want to sit on a throne of Chinese skulls. But we don't have that now. We can't even get women off of naval vessels. That should be step one, but most of them are already pregnant anyway.
Why are there a bunch of pregnant women on a Navy ship?
See, if he stopped at, well, what we're watching is the destruction of the U.S. military, I'd have been like, oh, great, sick. Like, no, you're like halfway there, kind of in a really demented way. It's not that we don't need a gay-friendly military, it's that we don't need military. So.
Certainly not at the fucking, for the sole purpose of empire expansion, acquisition of the natural resources of countries that we don't belong in, and wholesale exploitation of civilian population.
Also, why do you need like a type A hostile high T man to be a drone pilot? Like that.
Because sometimes you gotta fuck the controller. Sometimes you just gotta bang out a brand new hole in your machine. And I don't know, dude. I really don't.
Like, oh, I'm sorry. Is the pink fuzzy drone controller too offensive to you? You'd rather blow up Arab children with with the added black Xbox 360 controller? I don't know.
Give me that gunmetal finish, dog.
He won't leak to the press later. That's why. They don't want leakers.
That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure, man. Okay. So here's the thing, because a bunch of new whistleblower protections effectively went into U.S. law recently over the last couple of years. Wow, we're extraditing Julian Assange. Wow, Reality Winner was given the longest criminal sentence under the Espionage Act. She did more time under the Espionage Act than anybody in this country ever has. What they want is perfectly filtered information or as controlled information. So you're still going to get leaks. You're still going to get whistleblowers like Frances Haugen, the fake Facebook, not a whistleblower, who immediately got a blue check and immediately got the red carpet rolled out for her in the 60 Minutes interview and the testimony in front of Congress, all to say we need to better filter the way that people access information in the digital space. Those are the kinds of leakers and whistleblowers we're going to get, the ones who help like push for more and better control.
Yeah.
Facebook's fucked. So at the same time,
Yeah, they're meta now.
They're up to over there, but
encircling the continent of Africa with cable and fucking going after the entire global South because according to their own business strategy, they're essentially abandoning the West. Like they're doing the metaverse, but they're not the only people that are going to be doing a metaverse style space. That's for Glory's generation, maybe the generation younger, gonna go off and live life in the metaverse.
That's subsea cable as well, and the Two Africa initiative. It's actually being extended to the Arab Gulf as well, or that section. So yeah,
but Facebook's marketplace and their target demos are all in the global South now. Nobody in the West is fucking anymore. We're not making enough customer base for these companies, so they're going to where people are fucking. They're trying to encircle continents with cable. They're going to deliver free internet to all of the people there. Yeah, as long as you've got these products, you can buy a different phone if you want with whatever money you're allowed to have, and you can get whatever web service you want. But it's not going to work as good as the Facebook provided equipment. And this is
not to mention this is taking precedent over getting Western militaries out of the continent, getting debt traps out of the continent, making sure that countries have access to clean water that's not being contaminated by Shell and other oil companies.
A central bank-backed digital currency right away. Continent of Africa. That's what you need. You don't need, clean water or cooking fuel. You need a central bank-backed digital currency, and you need the internet as provided by Eric Schmidt and Mark Zuckerberg.
We can't even get clean water to our reservations yet in Canada. So
yeah,
you can't get them here either.
Yeah,
there's
they're putting fluoride back in Calgary. So, I mean, this is where we're at right now. Europe seems to be smart enough, but we just fall right back into that trap, and fluoride's going back into our water unless something changes.
There's atomic waste that's stored at the Red Hill facility in Oahu that's been contaminating the water there for like the last month. The Red Hill shit, like we talked about it a few weeks ago. I know Abby Martin did something on it. There's a couple other people that have been reporting on it, but the Red Hill shit in Oahu is like insane. The Hawaii, I just had a buddy that could call me up and ask me to come to Hawaii with him this winter. And I'm like, dude, do you have any idea what's in the water there? No, I'm not going to it. You shouldn't go to Hawaii. What are you, fucking dumb? Don't do that. But like, it's bad. I mean, it legitimately, the Red Hill facility should be getting more coverage. Trying to look at the chat over here. And then I don't know how long you guys have today. The show goes 2 hours. We've been going about 90 minutes. you're welcome to stick around. If you've got shit to do, go do shit. Fucking enjoy the hell out of this, though.
Yeah, we got to take off. I think, hey, Darren. I think Darren does.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we'll.
Clear.
So yeah, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for having us on, though. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this was fun.
Oh, enjoying the hell out of it. Well, guys, let people know where they can find all your stuff, how they can support what you do, pitch anything that you've got coming up, projects, books, stuff like that. And yeah, thank you again. This has been awesome. Enjoyed it.
Well, head over to Grimerica.ca. You can find links to pretty well everything we do there. The tours, the audiobooks are adultbrain.ca. There's I think 29 or 30 audiobooks available there. Some of the best esoteric titles of all time, a lot of Blavatsky stuff, Occult World, Isis Unveiled, the Unabomber Manifesto is available over there. We're just now going through the works of Charles Fort to get all that stuff up there, but you can get all that through adultbrain.ca. And then the two podcasts are Grimerica.ca and GrimericaOutlawed.ca. And all
Mention your book too.
Oh yeah, my book is a CanadianShame.ca, and all of the events and all that stuff's over at contact@thecabin.com.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you very much, both Graham and Darren. Finally got a good Graham on this show.
Thanks.
That's an inside joke. That's an inside joke.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care. We'll see you later.
All right, y'all have a fantastic Sunday. Appreciate you.
You too,
Folks, you guys stick around. We got plenty more to talk. We should probably hop over to the Rockfin. Glory Jones is what's up? You got a case of the giggles there.
You know what you did, Poikonen.
Man, I haven't taken a shot since April. All right. Y'all just go. Let's see. You want to go ahead and jump over to the Rockfin for the last 30 minutes of the show. We can talk about what the fuck ever and do that. Guys, I do if you can, you're watching over here on the YouTubes. If you are at all able, please do throw a couple of bucks at the emergency GoFundMe. My truck got holocausted. This is fucked up, dude. I was asleep. Sleepy was in the shower. I hadn't driven the truck in 2 days. It's been fucking like just hovering above or at freezing every goddamn night here. There's no actual reason for the cab of the truck. Not an electrical fire, didn't start in the engine, has nothing to do with the battery. The cab of the truck. And the glass didn't blow out like something had gone wrong and exploded. The glass melted inward. Melted windshield glass looks crazy, dude. It really does. That shit looks crazy. Anyway, drop the link to the Rockfin in the YouTube chat here. Much love for everybody for watching us over on YouTube, but we would encourage you to watch us on a platform that doesn't restrict our speech or unsubscribe you from the channel or take away our ability to make any money. What the thing that we do for food. So yeah, give us a shout over there. We'll see you on the
Bye,
Rockfin and the
FedTube.
Odyssey. Bye, FedTube.